Gather around the table once again for another session of Dungeons and Drakfus. Now, last week we finished up the Burning Crusade, so now it's time. In between all of that, we faced the wrath of the Lich King, and it's time to start up those dungeons. Now, we do have a full Tale of Drakfu that you guys can go check out of the Wrath of the Lich King content, so you guys can check that out at your leisure. But today, we're starting up Dungeons and Drakfus at an appropriate place. Castle Grayskull? Actually, no, we're going to be starting off at one of the two entry dungeons for Wrath of the Lich King, Utgarde Keep. So let's go ahead and enter the area first. And I like that. So you can actually go down into that catacomb, or you can go in here, which is where Utgarde Keep is. Or rather, at least the portal for Utgarde Keep. So let's go ahead and do the lore for it before we step into the dungeon. So let's go ahead and do this. Boom, we don't care. Alright, Utgarde Keep. Utgarde Keep was long thought to be abandoned, a relic of a lost civilization among the central cliffs of the Howling Fjord. Yet in recent days, something has roused the fortress's slumbering residents, the Vrykul. So yeah, once again, when we began in the Howling Fjord, we came into contact with the Vrykul, a Viking kind of race, and now we're actually kind of starting to realize where they came from. They were actually in a very dormant sleep until the Lich King came around and brought them to his side. So let's go ahead and enter Utgarde Keep and take care of them. So we start having individual portraits, or individual portrait loading screens again. Well, we technically haven't had it up until this point, because there were still some dungeons here and there in vanilla that also had that issue. But I want to step in really quick. Do I actually have... I think I still have quests for this area. Yes, I do. So let's actually go ahead and bring these out. So we still have a score to settle where we actually need to... High Executor Anselm wants you to slay Prince Keleseth inside Utgarde Keep. So let's go ahead and track that, since we need to take care of it. And also, we have additional quests from Dark Ranger Mara.
Hello.
Let's go and talk to her. Make it quick, Blood Elf. I am weary and have no time for pleasantries. So Ingvar must die. Of our entire recon party, only I remain. These Vrykul are relentless fighters. Given their numbers and their savage tactics, our only hope is to bring down their leader and pray it brings chaos to their ranks. Ingvar is his name. Bring me his head. Okay, so we need to take care of Ingvar the Plunderer. And then we also have disarmament. We must discover the secrets to these savages' weapons. If you'd have seen how easily they cut through my companions, you'd understand my sense of urgency. Scour the place. Gather all of their arms that you can carry.
Good luck, friend.
Okay, so we need to grab Vrykul weapons. We need to kill Prince Keleseth, as well as Ingvar the Plunderer. So let's go ahead and get things started. This shouldn't take too long because, well, we're just gonna rip through it. I think these are actually going to take a little bit longer than the Burning Crusade ones did, but we'll find out in a second. So here are the Vrykul, in case you haven't seen the Vrykul before. If at that point I'd be like, well, okay, apparently you're not playing Legion, and you never played Wrath of the Lich King, because they were there. I'm just killing all these guys, because why not? And here is actually one of the biggest sellers to a lot of people on the trailer. This furnace, holy crap, looked awesome in the beginning trailer for Northrend. Made a lot of people very excited to go into the Wrath of the Lich King. And yes, it still has not lost any of its luster. It's still freaking awesome to behold. Oh, crap, I needed to grab the weapon because I don't have auto loot on. There we go. So 1 out of 5, 2.5, 2 out of 5. And actually, we're going to be interacting with this. This is the other cool part, is that, as you can see, there's a chain puller right there, or a forge master. We're going to go ahead and grab his attention so that the next forge is no longer active, so we can actually step past it. Otherwise, it's just a wall. It doesn't kill you. It's just a dungeon wall. At least as far as how they set it up goes. Okay, so that's 3 out of 5. And here we go again. We just got to take care of these guys. So first of all, happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. For me, it's just been a little busy because we have kind of a light week this week, but we are starting up Wrath of the Lich King on Dungeons and Drakfus, and we are continuing on in Pandaria in Tale of Drakfu. So yeah, we're like 2 expansions behind, and you know what? I'm kind of okay with that. Eventually, we'll do a big catch-up, but, you know, there's only so much questing that you can do. Okay, let's go ahead and go into this room, which is actually where they're taming proto-drakes to be ridden. So you have actually some enslaved proto-drakes as well as their handlers and riders. Let's go ahead and take care of them. There we go. And... there we go. So, taking care of these guys. Wow, it's taking a while to get to the first boss, isn't it? Yes, it is. And this was actually kind of welcomed by people. First boss wasn't so easy to get to. And here we go. So here is the first boss. But first, we're going to pull the table before we worry about him. There we go. So, before we go to the table, let's go ahead and go over the lore of Prince Keliseth. The Lich King deployed Keliseth to Utgarde Keep in hopes of harnessing the Vrykul's potential for destruction. Upon arriving, the ambassador found a people who are more than eager to assist the Scourge. The Keep has proved to be an excellent staging point for terrorizing the Howling Fjord, and Keliseth has no intention of losing it to insolent trespassers. Alright, so let's go ahead and take on Prince Keliseth.
Your blood is mine! Aronel Ladell! Their fate shall be yours!
So you actually would have to deal with these Vrykul skeletons along with him, so we'll go ahead and grab this belt to sell it. And that's actually part of the fight, is like you have to deal with him, but you also have to take care of these Vrykul skeletons that will consistently resurrect throughout the fight. Oh, look, some cobalt. We don't care about that. But I will go ahead and take care of these guys. So you have these tunneling ghouls that are actually digging, I believe they are digging a tunnel to Gjallar Braun, just to keep the Vrykul forces being able to flow in through the Howling Fjord to their necessary places. So here we go. Everybody. There we go. And now up the stairs we go. Oh, and the guys apparently didn't care about us, so we're not going to worry about them. And deeper into Utgarde Keep we go. Unless I actually get aggro, then I'm not going to necessarily worry about it too much. As for my thoughts on Utgarde Keep, this place is still cool to be able to go through, even though I've done it who knows how many times. Just because of the sheer scale of Vrykul compared to human or gnome or anything like that. It's such an awesome contrast to what you're used to in World of Warcraft, and I love the Vrykul as a whole, or as a whole race in this particular expansion. They were awesome to be able to bring in, and I'm glad eventually they got brought into Legion and given some more legit lore that wasn't necessarily tied to the Lich King. There we go. I'm not gonna worry about these guys too much. And now we're actually at the second boss, which is Dalron the Controller and Skarvald the Constructor. So let's go ahead and look into their lore. So, it's a Vrykul tradition to make unlikely partners work together. Some say it's to allow divergent abilities to complement each other. Others say it's for the amusement of King Ymiron. Regardless, Skarvald and Dalron are a perfect example of this custom. Between a Vrykul's brawn and a human's necromantic arts, they will punish those who meddle with the Scourge. So yes, you have a necromancer as well as just a berserker. So we'll go ahead and take care of them.
See who can muster the nerve to join my attack. Not.
And there's actually the... there we go.
Jump into the fray.
Oh, what's Winds of the North? What did I do? Oh, Exalted with the Horde Expedition. Okay, I hadn't done that before. Yeah, that's their mechanic, is that one dies, and then you have to deal with that dude's mechanics until the other one's dead. So it's really just like a slow enrage until they're actually dead. I will, however, say Utgarde Keep to me is a little short, and it's simply because there's only 3 bosses in it, and I would have liked a few more here and there just strewn about in the castle, especially since this is supposed to be like Castle Grayskull, for crying out loud. let's have some fun with it. Go Black Temple. Have like 4 or 5 bosses, but I can here's the thing. In retrospect, I can now kind of see why they didn't do that. Because their layout isn't exactly all that long. In fact, we are actually near the end of it because we've just gotten out of the keep and we're on Tyr's Terrace. Although this next site was amazing, actually having a Proto-Drake rider come out onto the ramparts and start crap with you. And it actually looked like, if you look out here, you can tell exactly where on the terrace you are, which is another thing that's really, really cool, is they actually had a frame of reference within the dungeon. This is where you're at, and you could actually fly to this particular area on the map. This was not really all that much done until Wrath of the Lich King. They did it here and there for some dungeons, but not all of them. So that's one of the things I actually do like, is it gives a sheer case of scale of where you're at, and also just the sheer scale of how big the dungeon is. Thankfully, though, later on in expansions like Mists of Pandaria, we actually got bigger dungeons, so it actually looked like it was to scale. So here is Ingvar the Plunderer, and let's go ahead and look into his lore. Ingvar's brute strength is legendary even among the Vrykul. Rumor has it that he once bested King Ymiron in a brawl. The truth is unknown, but purveyors of that tale usually don't live for a retelling. Ingvar has promised the Lich King that he'll use all measures of brutality to hold the keep, a promise that he dare not break. And this is what I like to call the meme boss of Wrath of the Lich King, or at least one of them, because as you guys are going to see when I pull him...
Paint my face with your blood!
Yep. He will... I will paint my face with your blood! Oh, jeez.
Death God.
Oh, no. What does this mean? And Hilde the Caller.
Ingvar, your pathetic failure will serve as a warning to all. You are damned. Arise and carry out the Master's will.
I return.
All right, so he comes back as a undead Vrykul, so a Vargul. There we go. We've done heroic. So with heroic, you actually get the chance at a epic item, just kind of like with Burning Crusade, but we don't get gems anymore. We just get these frozen orbs, which were crafting reagents back in the day. We're not going to grab that though. Ingvar's head, we needed that. Okay, so that's actually the end of the dungeon, but really quick, we're going to see if we can get all the way back down to turn in these quests. Oh, do they still have the entrance closed? I hope not. Nope, it's open. So here we go. This is actually a really cool shortcut to the end of the dungeon. All you have to do is jump down here. Oh crap. Okay, there we go. And then you go up the stairs, and here's yet another pit. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Okay. And this actually puts us right at the entrance of Utgarde Keep. Because people might remember that you could veer off to the right at the entrance. This is where it goes. So let's go ahead and turn in these quests to kind of wrap things up for this episode. Hi, Dark Ranger. Okay.
I'm listening.
Score to settle. Keleseth is out of the way. Excellent. That will make our task here all the more simple. Okay, so we get some risks out of that, and then Ingvar must die. This is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Okay. Excellent work, Drakfu. With their leader removed, our efforts against these Vrykul should be more successful. Service such as this cannot go unrewarded, and so we get a ring out of it.
Good luck, friend.
And then disarmament. Were you able to steal their arms? Oh yes, 5 of them. Every blade we take from them is one less embedded in a soldier's flesh. Thank you. And we also get a neck piece out of that. And that does it for Utgarde Keep. So that also does it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And when we come back on Tuesday, we'll be taking on the second entrance level dungeon in Wrath of the Lich King. We're going to go into the Nexus. Till next time, everybody.